Welcome to Are We On Topic Yet by the Wild Wonder Collective.
Where faith meets real life and nothing's off limits except perfection.
We're your hosts, Dr. Melody, Mama Viv, and yours truly, Angie K.
We're talking all things ministry, motherhood, marriage, mindset,
and the messy moments in between.
Here, the conversations are real, the grace is deep, and the coffee, well, hopefully it's still hot.
So whether you're driving, multitasking, or hiding in the bathroom for 5 minutes of peace,
grab your pen, grab your journal.
Or let's be honest, your laundry basket, and join the convo. Let's get into it.
Hi, friends! Welcome to Are We On Topic Yet? We are in season 5. And actually, I should have said 5, episode 10, because that's where we are.
I know.
5, episode 10.
Oh, don't be trying to take my signs.
Oh, Lord.
Y'all, we are the Wild Wonder Collective. I'm Dr. Melody. We got Angie K, and we got Mama Viv. What? MV in the house. Okay, y'all. Angie K, what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about how to hold joy and pain at the same time.
Isn't this a fun show? Woo!
Oh. Oh, yes.
Okay,
already.
guys, we're going to cover naming the tension, why we struggle with mixed emotions, the myth that joy cancels pain, faith and both, and reality. I don't know, I'm saying
faith
that wrong.
and the both and reality.
Okay, and expanding your emotional capacity. And letting joy exist without apology. Okay, guys, we are jumping straight into this thing, right? We are naming the tension between joy and pain. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this to kick us off. I have a saying that I say, and actually it came from the Lord. 2 things can be true at the same time, right? And so there are times in our lives where we actually really are feeling joy and pain all at the same time, mixed in one, right? It's almost like this hodgepodge concoction. I don't know. I'm just going to throw this out here, and then they can start talking about naming this tension. It reminds me almost of like your kid going to kindergarten for the first time. You are happy. It's a joyous time. You're excited. The kid is typically excited, and it's all of this beautifulness. But there's also this piece of you that's like, my baby's growing up, right? And so there's like that tension between the joy and the beauty of experiencing these moments with your child, but also the sadness or the pain of a child growing up and needing you less in the same ways that they needed you before. So what do you think, ladies? Name the tension.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's like you said, both things can be true. And I think that for whatever reason, we feel like if we're, in this sadness or grief or whatever, that there's no room for joy. And that's just not true. Like, especially if we live a life in the Lord, because the Lord is full of joy. And so even in the worst moments, like, he can find you and he can bring that joy to you. So.
Oh, yeah. Angie K, I thought you were going to talk about the joy and pain of childbirth.
No. But no, there really is. There really is there.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, but yeah, because there is, you feel the physical pain, but yet there's joy, because I think what Dr. Melody was talking about was more emotional pain, Mm-hmm. But I'm going to tell you something, raising teenagers, when you get my age, there is physical and emotional pain and joy all mixed together.
Physical pain?
That's what I'm like.
You have people thinking we beat you up or something.
Yes. What physical pain?
We never beat up Mama Viv, people. We never beat her up.
No, I was talking about me doing the knuckling. You are going to act right.
She also never beat us up.
know. I'm not really sure what this physical pain was.
Actually, just erase that from your mind. I have something else. Um, my joy and tension would be, I think, when I was at a church and I was helping with that church, and it was time for me to leave the church and go to another church. And so there was a lot of joy, and then there was a lot of tension also in that because I was leaving. So yeah, that's a good one.
I'm gonna. Oh, go ahead, Angie K.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I think that's a good point. Like moving seasons and changing locations. All those things can bring like grief. You really grieve the life that you're leaving. But a lot of times, you can have a joyous feeling about where you're going, especially if it's an exciting change or whatever. So yeah, I know if I were moving to Puerto Rico or something, I would be excited. I would also be sad.
I'm gonna bring this one to a space because I was actually just talking about this yesterday. I truly believe God felt this when Jesus was on the cross, right?
Oh yeah,
and going through the crucifixion. Because I was talking about this to somebody yesterday, and I was like, when Jesus was going through all of that, do you think God called that beauty? Right? Do you think he called it beautiful? And my answer is yes. I really believe God. If he labeled it, he would say, yes, that was beautiful to me. Right. But I also think that it broke his heart to have to watch his only begotten son go through that kind of pain and torture. You know what I mean? In order to save his other children that he was bringing in by adoption. And so there was this joyous of, oh my gosh, the moment is happening where, we're paying this debt off. But at the same time, the sadness of, oh my gosh, my son has to go through all of this pain. So, you know what I mean? I think that it's one of those things of life where all of us experience those kind of things, those kind of emotions simultaneously, depending on what the circumstance is.
Yeah, I think that Jesus was showing us that we will have mixed emotion, and that this could actually be a sign of emotional maturity, because what it is saying is that, yeah, you're going to have emotions, but now you're learning how to process these emotions instead of putting them in a bucket somewhere and keeping them there and have an explosion because everything gets too overwhelming. And so if you're in a place of having mixed emotions, just start processing and just know that you're showing a sign of emotional maturity.
Well, and you're jumping, which is great. But why do we think we struggle with mixed emotions in general? Like, why do we think that that's a thing? Well, you know what? Actually, Mama Viv, I feel like you already started answering that, because it is a sign of emotional maturity. So if you're not emotionally mature, right, that may be that you may find that as a struggle. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, it seems like people in general feel like they're doing something wrong if they don't, quote unquote, honor this sadness or honor this grief. Like, I don't know, like I think of my story, and I think about how, me and my husband have lost children. And so, like some people may think because we still have a lot of happiness and a lot of joy that it's dishonoring, to the memory of the children that we lost. You telling them it's not, that's fine. I know, because it's not. But anyway, so I know some people may feel that, and again, that's just a place that people need growth in or whatever. But I think that we feel like we owe the sadness something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost like joy cancels out the pain or something like that, right? That if I am joyous, then somehow I'm canceling this pain, but I owe it to whatever I'm grieving to experience the pain and to allow it to like live there. I don't know. What do you think, Mama Viv? Nico clearly has a lot of thoughts.
I know. I'm sorry. I don't know. My mind was all over the place about this happy, sad thing. I was thinking about how sometimes we feel like we can only feel, and this is probably completely off subject, how we can only feel one thing. And yet, when we can feel those two things at the same time, we're actually, I see that as an expansion instead of, just let me just do this one here, that one there. But actually, when I am feeling joy and also pain,
Well,
he's demonstrating it for me.
clearly.
And also pain, it causes me to expand on the inside. I hope you guys can see this picture because you got joy, you got pain, and you got the expansion. But if you only have joy, it's not expanding. If you only have pain, it's not. But when you put them together, you have to expand on the inside. Does that make any sense?
It does. I know what you're saying. I'm thinking about Inside Out. That movie.
It's such a
Yeah.
good
Very
movie.
first one. It is. Listen, most therapists
Uh-huh.
recommend Inside Out. They love it.
Yeah.
But in the movie, Joy was trying to get rid of sadness, right? For Riley because she felt like that she was the most important, that Joy was the most
Yeah.
important, that sadness was like in the way and it was causing harm. And spoiler alert, but this is the first one, so if you haven't seen it by now,
I was gonna say this movie's been out for years. If you get mad about this spoiler, I don't know what to tell you.
You better try to experience joy and sadness.
I know. But at the end of the movie, Joy learns that sadness plays a real role as well. And we got to see those balls. They were like memories. And at first, the memories were like separated. It was like, these are the happy memories and these are the sad memories. But then as they started learning that there was a place for both, the balls became the color of joy and sadness and, the different things because the two existed in the same event. Right.
Yeah.
And they were showing how they both, like, it was important for them both to be there in that space and how it benefited Riley, the little girl, for both of them to have a space in her life in those situations. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about when you're talking about the expansion.
Right, the expansion, because we're often taught that we have to choose between emotions.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
But
that's never how they come.
no, and isn't there so much more joy after you've had sadness?
Right. And let me say this. I say this all the time because I feel like people don't think about this, but we don't actually choose the emotions that we feel. We just feel them. Like something happens and then you feel. Now, I'm not saying you can't say, let me help pull myself out of sadness. Like you can try to partner with the Lord in doing some things. Sure. I'm talking about the instant response that comes. We don't choose those. We just feel them.
Yeah.
And we can either be honest about the fact that we feel them or we can try to act like it didn't happen. But nonetheless, we feel them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just always like, honesty is better than acting like something didn't happen.
I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah. I agree wholeheartedly, and we get rewarded for those things that we think, just like okay, I'm feeling good. Oh, that's good. You feeling good, or something like that. And then sometimes we start feeling guilty about having the other feelings.
Yeah, it's crazy. When we didn't choose it. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's jump into faith.
I don't know where we're at, but okay.
Listen, we're jumping into faith and the both and reality. And I'm asking Angie K to start talking here because I am trying to track what this is. Faith and the both and reality.
Girl, the both and. So the both and is the sadness and the joy at the same time. So we're saying, what is faith with the joy and the sadness, the reality of joy and sadness?
All right. There we go.
That's so funny. But I think we touched on that. Like, you were talking about Jesus and the cross. You know what I mean? And, buddy, what's happening here? I think you just want to do this. But you were talking about Jesus and the cross and, the complexity of what he must have felt. And what I think it's funny because you were saying that you were talking about this yesterday. And literally I was talking about the same thing yesterday. So it was just, it's just kind of funny. But, the complexity of what he must have felt there. But the complexity of his emotions, a part of that I feel is because of the faith that he had that the ones that he loved so much would be restored. You know,
come on,
and
so good.
Yeah. Huh, Mama Viv, are you back?
I just took a little nap and came back in.
Well, tell me I'm boring you without telling me I'm boring you. That's fine.
Oh,
Oh, that's funny. Anyway,
Interesting ride.
well, I feel like we actually already started talking about the expanding your emotional capacity. Mama Viv kind of started talking about how
Oh
it
my
like
gosh.
stretches you to have two sets of emotions inside of you at one time versus one because you need more capacity, right? To feel. Um, Now, one thing I will say on this emotional capacity is emotional regulation. We talked about how we try to avoid emotions and how Joy tried to kick sadness out, and that wasn't the way to go.
Yeah.
But it's not just that you feel all the things because people might say they told me to feel and so I get to feel, and you do get to feel, but you also get to regulate how you respond, right? Just because you're feeling something doesn't mean you lean into it and you give your emotions permission to control your actions. You get to decide how you respond to it. You may not decide what you feel, but you definitely decide how you respond. And so, regulating that is important. There's a lot of ways to regulate your emotions and your responses to your emotions, but it is definitely a sign of emotional maturity to do so.
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, I think what you're saying is that feelings, it's okay to have those feelings, but they have to be processed and they can't be bypassed. And I think a lot of times that's what we want to do is bypass. You know what I mean? Just like, okay, we're
Hmm.
going to just skip over this and hold it and have it, but we're going to bypass it. And
Yeah.
that's not going to work. It's just
Yeah.
not going to work, you know.
Yeah, we try to
Uh,
skip it or we try
you
to
don't heal.
push it
Yeah.
down. And the thing is that if you don't give your emotions a way out, preferably a healthy way out, but a way out, they will find one,
Hmm.
and they choose the unhealthy ways or the
Yeah.
Yeah.
embarrassing ways. I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
telling you.
Oh, yeah.
I think it goes with one of the notes I wrote on here, which is you have to allow your body to feel what your mind wants to fix. You know, your
Yeah.
mind
So
wants to
That's
good.
shove
good.
things under the rug, but like Dr.
Hmm.
Melody said, if you shove it under the rug, the carpet's going to get lifted up at some point, and it may be explosive, and it may be
Yeah.
embarrassing. It may be something you don't want it to be. So just
Yeah.
it's better
Yeah.
just to not sweep it there.
Yeah.
And,
I always
and
say that rug is only so big. Go ahead.
That's good.
That's true. That's so true. But yeah, one thing that happens with your emotions is that sometimes it shows up in your body also,
Yeah.
and
Huh?
that can be dangerous.
What?
Getting sick,
Mm-hmm.
overweight, getting things that are not
Ulcers,
healthy.
back
And so
problems. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
the whole
hmm
thing. I mean, real talk,
yeah,
guys. Literally, I was just doing inner healing with Angie K over the fact that I carry other people's problems. I was.
hmm
I'm not doing it anymore. Carry other people's problems and the responsibility for them to get better. And as a result of that, my I was having back problems because it was manifesting in my back. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a
yeah.
real thing. This is not like a hyperbole. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. It is not fake.
Hyperbole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's a real thing. And so you really have to get to a place where you are giving your emotions space and room to come out.
Yeah, yeah. Things that your mind can't handle and say, shift to the back, shift to the back, to the back, to the back. Anyway,
Yeah. But I just want to
yeah,
reemphasize that regulation. You know, yes, give your emotions that space, but then
yeah,
regulate them. Okay, we don't just
All
let them just
right.
run free and wild because they're
yeah,
crazy. Okay.
Right.
hmm
Right.
yeah,
You choose
yeah.
how you respond to them. So, what about letting joy exist without apology? Unapologetically joy. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say a little bit on that. Is that because I was in a stage of that where I felt like inside of me, something felt like it had to apologize for me being happy or filled with joy. It was like, okay, you're in a bad situation here. Why are you smiling? Why do you feel good inside? Something is wrong with you for having joy because you're not in that stage in life where you should have joy. And so I had to come to a place where I did not have to apologize to myself for being free, because
Yeah.
that's where the joy came from, was the freedom in Jesus. He was the one who had set me free in those areas, and I had to just say, okay, Jesus, I receive your joy. I receive your freedom. And then I was like, okay, I can do this. But before, I am telling you, it was like I was wanting to punish myself for being happy and full of joy.
Yeah, I think that when you come to a place where you're living your life to please the Lord and not please man, which can be very hard.
Yeah.
But the Lord can help us get there, and then when we get there, just know that there may still be layers that we still have to work through, and there probably will be that we still have to work through.
Yeah.
But when you get to a place literally where you're just working to please the Lord and not please man, then you get to a place where you don't have to apologize for being happy and being joyful. Like, literally, the Lord does want you to have some joy. Like, he just does, and so then if he wants us to be joyful even in the sadness, then we should understand that it's not wrong, and you don't have to say sorry for something that's not wrong.
Yeah, it's like having two friends, You have those friends, and you've experienced what it's like to be friends with both of them, And somebody say, well, you have to pick one of those friends. You cannot, just have this one and have that one at the same time. And so that's like joy and maybe some other kind of feeling, negative feeling or something. And then you feel like, okay, if I'm with this one, if I'm with sadness, I cannot embrace joy because, they're two separate friends. But that's what that kind of reminds me of. And you might be in a situation like that with your friends. No, never mind. Never mind.
And I just wanted
Scratch it.
to throw out there, for people who might be in some kind of support group, this can be a real issue in support groups, being happy when something sad is happening. So, like for me, I'm actually in a support group for women who have lost children. Okay. And so if I mention some joyful things or whatever in that group, sometimes some of the people who are not quite healed in those areas are like, how dare you? How dare you be so happy? And it's like, what? No, honey. Like, get healed, And I mean, I understand, because, we all go through things, and sometimes it's harder to go through the healing process, or you don't even know where to start, or, whatever, all kind of circumstances. So I'm not, coming down on these ladies. I'm not. But I'm just saying that this happens in those kind of groups, or it can happen in those kind of groups where people are not so understanding of your joy in the middle of grief. And so you have to just resolve in yourself that sometimes that happens, and it's okay. And you don't have to apologize. You can apologize that, I mean, I should say not apologize. You can communicate empathy for how they feel and sympathy for how they feel, but you don't have to apologize for how you feel, for the happiness you feel.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, y'all.
That's good.
We have come to my favorite time. It's time to encourage our listeners.
Don't know how we got there, but okay.
That was really
We're
fast.
here. We're here. Well, part of it is that I never started our timer, so I don't know where we are. But I know. What I know is that we're on the last slide. So, yay! Okay, let's encourage our listeners.
You're not betraying anything. Oh, okay. You're not betraying anything or anyone by choosing joy.
Yeah.
So,
Listen,
Okay.
Embrace having two sets of emotions at the same time. Like, two things truly can be true at the same time. That is okay. And you don't have to apologize for two things being true at the same time, right? You can be empathetic for somebody else's experience, but give yourself permission to walk in that.
Well, I just believe that you're strong enough to carry both, right? and you're wise enough to honor both. So, hey, go with it.
I love it. Okay, guys, we want to hear from you. May you trust that joy and pain can share the same space. And may you find peace in the tension instead of shame. What are you celebrating and grieving at the same time?
Yeah.
And how can you honor both honestly this week? We want to hear from you guys. Drop us a line in the chat. We want to be able to celebrate and grieve with you. Okay, friends. NGK, what's next?
Okay, so this was the last episode of our 5th season, guys. So we're going to have a week off for the season change. I don't know if you've noticed that this year that we are doing that. In between seasons, we are taking a week off for mental health and getting things done in our own homes that we need to do. But when we come back with season 6, we're going to start off with I Feel Different and I Don't Know Why.
Yay!
Such a wonderful way to start.
I know.
Well, it's true sometimes.
Are you excited? Okay, friends, it has been such a joy. Thank you for rocking with us for 5 seasons.
Yes.
What?
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you guys have
Thank
been
you.
Enjoying Are We On Topic Yet, we are challenging you. Share this with somebody you know that doesn't know about us, right? Share it either on your platforms or tell somebody about us and show them how to get to us on one of the platforms that you watch us on. And definitely we want you to make sure you like and subscribe. It definitely helps with the algorithm. If you want more Are We On Topic Yet, then help support us. All right, friends, we love y'all. Bye.
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 That's another episode of Are We On Topic Yet from the Wild Wonder Collective.
If today made you laugh or feel a little more seen,
Go ahead and hit subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave us a review.